Are you tired of thinking about drinking, trying to control it, and ending up in the same loop? Welcome to the Feel Good Alcohol Free podcast, where high achieving women learn how to step out of the stop start cycle and build a life that feels calm, clear, and alcohol free on purpose. I'm your host, Lindsay, accredited sober coach and former high functioning drinker. After more than a decade of drinking every night while keeping up a big career and a life that looked fine from the outside, I rebuilt my identity from the inside out. Now I help women stop negotiating with themselves and trust their own decisions again. This isn't a podcast full of cliches or willpower pep talks. You're getting real conversations, lived experience coaching, and practical tools you can use inside your actual life, not perfect conditions. So take a breath. You're here because you're ready to feel good in your real life. So let's get started. I'm so excited about today's guest that I have planned for you today. Her name is Jess Jackson, and she is a meditation teacher and the founder of Good Living Only, a beauty wellness brand built around slowing down and reconnecting with yourself. Jess helps people regulate their nervous systems through simple rituals and intentional self-care. Her sobriety journey began quietly after years of high-functioning drinking, burnout, grief, and living a life that looked so good on the outside, but felt deeply misaligned on the inside. After hitting a series of dramatic rock bottoms, Jess chose to remove alcohol so she could actually feel what was underneath and deal with it properly. Through meditation and learning to sit with discomfort, sobriety became the foundation for rebuilding her relationship with herself. Today, Jess speaks openly about shame, identity shifts, emotional work that can come with choosing not to drink, especially when you don't fit the stereotype of what addiction is supposed to look like. Her work sits at the intersection of nervous system regulation and modern life, offering a grounded reminder that you don't need to escape yourself to feel okay. I am so excited to bring Jess on today. Everything she practices is so in tune with my journey and what I teach the women inside Feel Good AF. So let's get started. All right. Welcome, Jess. I have given our listeners a brief introduction of who you are and the work you do, but welcome. I'm so happy to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's very exciting.
I'd love to start our conversation by having you tell us a little bit about yourself and what is something that you're feeling passionate or drawn to right now.
So I am a meditation teacher, but I also have my brand Good Living Only, where we pair sheet masks with meditation to help you calm your mind and calm your skin. So that leads into my passion as well, which is beauty. I've created a beauty brand, but more so that wellness part. It's more about the wellness side of things, finding ways that I can connect with myself and regulate my nervous system and live that kind of lifestyle.
Yes. And this is top of mind for my audience, for the women who I work with inside my coaching programs. This journey to alcohol-free life, it's all about how you're taking care of yourself.
And that's where it kind of starts, doesn't it? We could talk about this for years, but that whole self-care piece is looking after yourself and then slowing down and giving yourself the space to even understand that that's how you're operating is so important.
We think of self-care as, going to get a massage or something that is like a higher lift. But it's also, I've had women who I've worked with who they're like, I brush my teeth every single night. Like that is self-care, where when you're drinking, sometimes you might fall asleep and not brush your teeth or
leave your makeup on or your clothes on or and it's those tiny little micro shifts of behaviors where you're inadvertently telling yourself that you're not valuing yourself or you're not taking care of yourself. And so when you pair something so simple as brushing your teeth as self-care, you can start to understand that there's so many elements that are self-care and looking after yourself. Eating a nourishing meal, taking 2 minutes to just sit there with your breath, taking your makeup off at night. All these little micro expressions are things that teach your body that you're taking care of itself, and that kind of builds momentum to make those bigger leaps where it's changing your I've seen the light bulb moment, to change those big things like going alcohol free, or having an exercise practice, or a journaling practice, or meditation practice, where those things seem so insurmountable when you're staring down them, when you haven't done those little changes to get to the big ones.
Yes. And it's not about like burning your whole life down and starting these routines from scratch. It really is starting really small. And I always say, like, connecting with the version of yourself that you want to become, and
I love that.
or who you love, like what is so important to you. And I know this is a little bit of a tangent, but you just got back from a major trip, a solo trip, which, as me being the watcher of that and that experience that you just had, it seemed very much you connecting with yourself.
Yeah, and that was the whole point of the trip. It was very last minute, and it was basically just a way to uh, take a leap of self trust. And I didn't go in with a plan. I wanted to do a 10-day silent retreat. That was the only thing I had planned, and I did. And that was incredible and very challenging. But I wanted to put myself in a situation where I could have the space with myself to know that I could do hard things, to trust that things are working out for me without a plan. To go to a foreign country without a plan, it's a bit risky, but or even to move around and go to different areas, and to do the trek that I did. Everything just started to flow, and it was teaching my nervous system that when I make a plan and I organize things, that I can trust that I will do that. And it was just building that self trust piece in little bit extreme ways and scary.
As you were talking, I was on the edge of my seat saying, when is she going to get to the trust part? Like, I knew it. And
Yeah.
it's so true, because our nervous system ends up in these flight or fight situations, and we have to trust ourselves. We're very capable.
We're so capable. And every year, I get to the end of the year, and I normally travel at the end of the year. I go away for Christmas and I have a holiday. But I'm either working or I'm socializing, and I just wanted something, instead of getting into the new year and just being, right, let's go straight into it. I wanted to have that space, and I wanted to expand my nervous system to see how much I could hold, to grow me for next year and set me up on a different path. Because I just find that when you're in that fight or flight response, or you're burnt out, or you're approaching burnout, your nervous system contracts. You just get so scared. You don't want to do anything because you're worried, you're fearful. You can get fearful of burning out, so it prevents you from doing these big moves. So by taking that trip, I was just putting a line in the sand of, we're not burning out this year. Yeah, we're not falling into a heap. We're going to have some real space. 10 days of silence, it's not something where you can fill it with there's nowhere to run.
Right.
And then to couple it with a trek and safari and all these amazing things. It was the whole goal. It was very conscious decision to expand my nervous system and challenge myself so that I could start the year off being fearless.
Everything that you just described, it takes guts and it takes courage as well. And the sense of accomplishment, I mean, you must be feeling on top of the world.
I've come back into the new year, and life has its own challenges, and I'm just not rocked by it, because I keep thinking back to, okay, well, if I just did that trip, and I basically went in with an idea of what I wanted to do, and it worked it out as I went. I go, if I can do that, then I can do this. And that was the exposure therapy of building that self-trust piece and challenging myself so that I can take those learnings into the everyday life.
Yes, yes. Exposure therapy. You're never going
Mm.
to know how you can handle it until you put yourself in the situation. I love it.
Or even as the meditation piece, we're always, well, not always, but most people, especially if they've got something they're trying to overcome, you can get stuck in this healing paralysis where you're continually healing. And so what I'm trying to practice and teach my students as well is to do the field work. So you can spend all the time in contemplation, in unearthing traumas or understanding yourself and gaining self-awareness. But and especially with the sobriety journey as well, is sometimes you reach a point where you actually have to go and do that field work and get that exposure therapy and build that muscle and learn that you can do these hard things. You can hide yourself away from the world and work out the why and understand your triggers and understand where the need for numbing and create the space and do all these wonderful things. But then it comes a point where you've done the learnings, you've done that, and now it is that field work. It's going out and putting yourself in a scenario where maybe drinking's around. Maybe it's uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for me to sit in that airport with food poisoning, coming back and having to go to work the next day. Like those things that really make you feel uncomfortable and put you out of your comfort zone of not even having a hot shower, like something that you take for granted that,
Yeah.
yeah, and you're like, okay, I can do hard things.
Exactly. Information does not create transformation. Like, eventually, you have to cross the threshold of reading the books and listening to the podcast, and you have to put it into action. You have to practice it. You have to practice going on date night without drinking. You have to practice sitting at home on a Friday night and not rewarding yourself with alcohol, and then lean into the other practices, which is like this balance that you bring into this of meditation and self-care. You have some incredible different facets of your life that seem so beautifully intertwined. And when I watch you from social media, I'm just like, oh, she has peace in her life. That is something that really comes up. But you've got skincare and meditation and sobriety. And I want to explore this connection between meditation and sobriety.
It all kind of unraveled simultaneously. So I was meditating, but I was also going out and drinking. And I was wanting to shift my drinking and I was wanting to have a deeper meditation practice. And I was kind of just going in and out of both. I would have a month off drinking, or I would try and do a meditation challenge. And they just weren't really going anywhere. And it wasn't until I deepened both sides that I could understand how they both supported each other. So when I wanted to go all in on meditation, I realized that if I was out on a night out and it was escalating and I said I had a meditation class the next day, I would still go to that meditation class, but I'd be hungover and I wasn't getting any benefits. I just kept doing that dance of trying to do one without the other. And when I realized that they both complemented each other, and that's kind of when the light bulb moment happened, they were supporting each other. So when I gave space from alcohol, I was able to have a meditation practice. But in that meditation practice, it gave me the space and clarity to process the things that come up when you're not drinking, that uncomfortable feeling. Once I realized that they support each other, they were both so much easier to do. So without meditation, when I was just trying to quit alcohol, I couldn't do it. The head noise was so much. I had so much negative self-talk. It was uncomfortable. The anxiety was so high. The shame was so high. The what ifs, the catastrophizing of I won't have any friends if I stop drinking. My whole life will change. I'll be boring. I'll be missing out. All of that was too hard to combat. And then when I had meditation, but I was still drinking, it was too hard to get that clarity while still drinking. And so when I had the space for both of them to do them both in tandem, it was really supporting both sides. And I was able to go through a proper sobriety journey. I was able to deepen my meditation practice because I was using it as a tool to help one another. The sobriety piece was supported by meditation because I was able to quiet that head noise. I was able to be aware of the stories I was telling myself. I was able to process the uncomfortable emotions and have an outlet for it that wasn't alcohol to numb that feeling. So that was where it all came from, a survival point.
What I was hearing is in the beginning with this realization of, well, I can't really meditate if I'm drinking all night. And this is an example where the meditation is something that you want to be doing for yourself because you know that it's helpful, or it's also just something that you're looking to explore. So it's a goal to explore it more, but your actions are not aligned with that lifestyle.
My behaviors weren't lining up with my values and my desires. So I'd have to sit there and go, right, what are my core beliefs? Do I believe that I am someone that could be sober? Do I believe that I am someone that values health and wellness? okay, and sit with that, then my behaviors would have to shift to that way of thinking and bridge that cognitive dissonance.
Right. Yeah. Because they're connected and there's a clear divide when one is getting in the way of the other. When our actions are not aligned with our values, or when we're saying yes to things that aren't aligned with what we believe or what we care about, that's when it's like a double life.
But you also start to feel it more the more that you sit with that and those uncomfortable feelings. If I'm sitting there and saying, trying to rewire my brain and change my neuroplasticity and that part of the brain, and I'm telling myself, I am someone that values health and wellness. I am someone that is sober. I am someone that can go to social situations without needing alcohol. And I'm continually doing that work. And then my behaviors aren't mirroring that. I physically felt uncomfortable because I wasn't living in alignment. And it just got so obvious to me that my body was reacting to those behaviors that I had to change them. I had to go, well, hold on, we don't do that anymore, and course correct.
Yes, yes. The students that you have in your program, have you seen meditation support them in different areas? And so this is areas like not just sobriety related.
I think the first point is shifting them out of that survival way of thinking and just creating a space, a container for them to have those thoughts come up, to sit with them, to process them. And like you said, that can be any area. It doesn't have to be sobriety. It could be grief. It could be anxiety. It could be work stress. I use it to just understand what I want. So if it's from work, well, what's my next move? What am I thinking? Where am I reacting, and where am I needing to pause and take that moment? And we're all human. We all get busy. We all get caught back up in the things. And 10 days of silence is a bit of an extreme version to go and find that clarity, but you can just do it with a 2-minute stop and check and pause. And I find that having a pause or a ritual to come back to just helps in any facet of life that you're going through.
Yeah, I agree with you with the ritual that you can have to just kind of connect to yourself and slow down and really breaking up the side of you that just is always reacting to things.
And that ritual is, I mean, it's what my whole brand is based off, is that slowing down and having a physical ritual of a sheet mask paired with a meditation to get you back into your body, to connect with yourself. Where can you find a ritual? Maybe it is just brushing your teeth. A ritual where you're taking 2 minutes to connect with yourself, to tune in, to see what you're feeling, because it stops you from reacting. It stops you from saying yes to things that you might not want to do. It just brings your awareness back into your body, out of the doing, out of the thinking, out of that paralysis of over analyzing, and into the doing.
Exactly. And there's always this pressure to feel like we're checking things off of our list, or we're performing and we're doing, and everybody has 2 minutes.
But that was my whole entire life, is that I was box ticking. I was going out to a friend's birthday and having a big night out drinking. And then the next day I was doing a 10-kilometer run. And so I was ticking a box of, I've seen my friends, I'm social. Next day I've exercised, I've made up for drinking on a surface level. And I imagine in your audience, you've got a lot of women that are high achieving and
Oh
and
yeah.
that high functioning. It's hard to decipher that there was a problem. And so, speaking with a friend of mine, she was confused when I came to her and said, I'm sober and I want to talk to you about this. And she goes, I don't think you ever had a problem. And I go, well, maybe that's the issue with society, is that it wasn't deemed a problem. But I would have been drinking 5 to 6 nights out of the week, but I had a great job. I had all the materialistic things you could ask for. I was exercising. I was doing yoga retreats. I was doing meditation. I wasn't teaching people, thank God. I wasn't in a space to share my wisdom just yet. But on the surface level, you are ticking that box. You're going out, but then you're exercising, and you look healthy. You eat well, so the drinking and the socializing, that's not an issue.
Yeah, exactly. That is what most of the women who are part of my world are dealing with. There aren't these heavy rock bottoms, so there's no reason to stop because they're still getting everything done. But the reality is you don't feel your best. And that is just as important as any other rock bottom. And we become so used to just operating at like 40 or 50%. You're just used to going on the 10-kilometer run, even though you were up until 2 in the morning drinking all night. And yeah. And we don't have to settle for that. Okay, one thing I still care about, even all of these years into living alcohol free, is what I'm drinking. It's not just about water. Drinks are never just about hydration, they're about energy, focus, recovery, and how supported your body actually feels throughout the day. Functional beverages. These are a staple in my life for that reason. I'm finding myself reaching for clean, non jittery energy when I want to feel sharp and clear. I love ingredients like magnesium and calming herbs in the evening because they help my body wind down without forcing it. And I'm paying attention to what I use after workouts or after long days because I'm telling you, like, recovery matters more than just pushing through. We're in these back to back meetings, we're juggling 8 million things all day. And at the end of the day, it's like we're trying to come up for air and relax, and alcohol's not going to take care of that anymore. So, what I've learned is this: feeling good doesn't happen by accident. It's built through small, intentional choices that are actually supporting your nervous system instead of fighting it after these long marathon days. So, this month, the Zero Proof, it is so exciting because we are spotlighting functional beverages. We're talking about what they actually do, the ingredients that make a difference, and why so many people are choosing sips that work with their goals, not against them. Remember, your actions have to align with what you're trying to achieve. So, if you're somebody who wants your drinks to do more than just fill that glass of yours, if you're looking for something way more exciting than water, you're going to love this. And the link, as always, is in the show notes. Check it out. You're going to get a discount on your first order that you place with them. So, I want to bring this right back to meditation, though. It is something that's more commonplace. I think a lot of people are practicing it through apps or YouTube, but it also can feel really intimidating for people if they've never done it. So, what advice would you give to the women listening who thinks she can't do meditation? How can somebody get started?
I always find the people who think that they can't do meditation are normally the ones that need it. And I know that from firsthand experience that I was very much the person that was skeptical and didn't see the value in it. So, my advice would be to start tiny, as much time as you've got. It could be a minute. Something is a minute. Everyone has a minute in your day. And I'm going to keep using that brushing your teeth example because there are ways of habit stacking that you already do. It's a ritualized thing that you could be closing down your eyes whilst you're brushing your teeth and just taking a moment to start noticing the areas in your body. It could be the moment before you walk in the door, before you turn the key, you just sit there and take a deep breath in. So you just breathe in through your nose and then you just slowly exhale out. You could just do that once, and that's just your one physical reset. You could just do 3 rounds of that. That time that it takes to do that is so tiny, but it can be a ritual. You turn that key every day. You sit in your car before you go into work. You commute. You go to a meeting. I worked with someone who would take their app and they would go to the bathroom and do 5 minutes before they had to do their big presentation. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be 10 days of silence. Like, I get that's extreme, but it can be so tiny and it can be so easy to embed. Something that you already do a day, add on 1 minute, add on 2 minutes. You just build from there. It's consistency over perfection.
Yeah. I mean, you're already breathing.
Every breath class, people would come and go, I already know how to breathe. I'm like, I know you do, but just try it, just see how you go. And 9 times out of 10, I would go over, I pop my hand on their chest and their belly, and they're not breathing deeply. They're just shallow breathing, which is that anxiety inducing breath. So I
Right.
would put the hand down to slow them down and just say, just slow it down. Take that deep breath in. Breathe out slowly. Let it go. And you just feel their shoulders drop. You just feel their
Yeah.
body relax. And we live like that. We're all tense. We're all go, go, go. the moment that you just go, and exhale and those shoulders drop, it changes your mindset in a second. It's so powerful.
What I'm really taking away from this is I think a lot of us feel like, oh, I'm meditating. I have to like light a candle. I need to make sure nobody comes in. Half the time I'm meditating, my dog is like nudging me. It's really just a couple of minutes of quiet time and actually taking full deep breaths.
And
Like,
not totally quietening your mind. The goal isn't to have zero thoughts. It's to
yeah.
sit there and observe them. And especially if you're starting out, the power in observing your thoughts is the practice. You can notice how you're talking to yourself. The start of my practice, I realized that when I was doing those runs after a night out, how badly I spoke to myself. It was so negative. It was, you had a big night out, now you have to run. You can't stop because you decided to have a night out. Even just being aware of that thinking and how I was speaking to myself shifted how I could show up after that. And that's the meditation practice.
Yes, for sure. I mean, the negative self-talk and the rhetoric that runs through our mind, I used to refer to my workout or I would go running after my nights out as my penance run. I needed to beat myself up. It was awful.
I'm so glad someone else has done that.
Oh, all the time, all the
Yeah.
time. I would never talk to my best friend like that. I would never tell a friend, oh, you stayed out until 2 in the morning and drank 3 bottles of wine. You better go run 10 miles. Like, I would never say
Oh,
that.
that was the realization. When someone said how you talk to yourself, would you talk to a friend like that? And I just shriveled. I'm like, I am horrible. The penance run is such a good term for it because it was like boot camp. It was like, you have to do this. You are a failure because you went out on a night out. Now you have to run even longer. And when you're getting through that sobriety journey as well, it doesn't have to be running. But if in those early days where I would fall back and go out and have a drink and think that I was okay. And then I would beat myself up the next day of like, how could you do that? Like, you're such a failure. And it's changing the language. And that meditation piece is where you can have that self compassion, where you can start being nicer to yourself, where you can say, you are only human. I spent the 10 days with the monks. They experience negative thoughts. They experience anger. They're not superhuman. Everyone has these moments where it may be a step back, but you are moving in the right direction. And so, how you talk to yourself and how you treat yourself with kindness in these moments while you're growing, it just makes the journey so much smoother.
Yes, it really does. And like you were saying, it's not just related to sobriety. There's so many other paths that this helps with. So I want to pivot a little bit and talk the skincare and self-care. What led you to found Good Living Only and share a little bit more about the concept?
So it is sheet mask that you can pair with a guided meditation. So the whole premise is to slow down, pop your sheet mask on, but also turn it into that self care moment and that ritual. And that really came from my own experience of hitting rock bottom, going through grief, going through anxiety, and trying every single modality I could. And nothing was working. I just couldn't find anything to regulate or to quieten down the noise. And it wasn't until something so simple as putting on a sheet mask and just sitting there and breathing and telling myself everything's going to be okay that I was able to get through these hard moments. And so when I was thinking of what I want to bring out into the world, it was, I love beauty, I love meditation. And I have this personal practice that I use and my tool that got me into meditation when I thought it was intimidating to get into, where I wasn't able to consistently do it, where I wasn't able to shift my behaviors to be that person that meditates consistently. And so when I was able to do it, I wanted to share that with everyone. And that's how Good Living Only was born.
Yeah. Oh, I love this so much because it's more evidence of it aligning with your goals and what's really important to you. And I like how you talk about like having the time and making the time because it isn't a massive amount. And what does self-care mean to you?
So self care to me is around that ritual and regulating my nervous system. That's That's the direct correlation. Meditation to me is something practical. Yes, I love the spirituality to it, but it's a practical tool for me to regulate my nervous system. And self care, skincare, rituals, all of these things are all combined in that sense. So for skincare, for me, it's looking after myself, it's taking a moment to connect with my body. And that all flows onto every element of self care. That if I'm looking after my skin and I'm taking a moment to put a sheet mask on and have a quiet moment, I'm investing in myself. I'm treating myself to self-care. I'm looking after my body. I'm teaching myself that I value myself. If I'm teaching myself that I value myself in that way, then I'm going to feed myself nourishing food. I'm going to move my body. I'm going to make choices like going alcohol free more easily because I value myself and I've given myself that time. And it goes back to that trust and exposure piece as well. If you continually show yourself in these ways that you value yourself, you will just find that that's your behavior and that's your new identity, and the decisions become a lot easier. Because if I'm someone that takes every Friday night to do a sheet mask and a meditation, and I've carved that time out and I feel great afterwards, then I'm also a person that's going to wake up at 6:30 and do a Pilates class because I know I'm going to feel great, and that's the best choice for me. And I'm not going to go out for a boozy lunch on the Saturday. I'm going to go for a walk or see friends, or you just start to make different choices, and they all encompass self-care. And starting it from skincare seems so simplistic, but that is my starting point, that physical reminder that I am connecting with myself.
I really love this so much because self-care is it's nourishing yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about what you put in your body. Growing up, there was definitely some sort of campaign here in the US, like you are what you eat.
I love
And
that.
yeah, and it's so incredibly true because if you eat something that is garbage, you will feel like garbage. And it's the opposite of self-care. Yeah, sometimes I want to have like a cheeseburger or some french fries or something. That doesn't mean I'm not taking care of myself, but that's not every day. Self-care is what you're putting in and what you're putting on your body.
It's what you're putting on, what you're putting in your body, and what you're consuming. And that's where all of this journey started from, is that I just started taking care of my skin. I went makeup free and I was conscious of what I was putting on my skin because I didn't want to have bad skin. And that's where the sheet mask came from. I still loved beauty, I still loved skincare, but I didn't have that makeup element. So how do I get that beauty fix? It's the sheet mask, which then gave me the space to do the meditation, which gave me the awareness of what else am I putting into my body food wise? How am I moving my body? What am I consuming? All these things grow your awareness in the you are what you eat mentality, but
Yeah.
not being so rigid about it as well. That if I have a night out now, yes, I will wear makeup. Or if I've eaten healthy all week or all month, yes, I will have the French fries. Like
Yeah.
life is a bit of balance in that regard.
Yeah, exactly. And I love how you're taking the sheet mask and that's a ritual. Rituals can often be looked at as like too deep, but I really don't think they are. They're another layer to the habits.
The rituals are the practice that anchor me back to creating space. So by having that sheet mask, by having that physical reminder, it's what got me into a meditation practice. It's why I'm so passionate about it, because I tried everything. I tried to have meditation, and without that physical reminder and a ritual around it, I wasn't consistent. And so pairing the two together is what left me to calm my mind so I could calm my skin.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that a lot. It's all because it's all connected. And sometimes the most basic things that we just need. What do I need right now? My skin is dry. I need a face mask. Or and like,
Or I'm overwhelmed. I just need a moment to myself.
yeah,
It's taking that pause in any way you can, so that you're not overreacting. You're not giving people the worst version of yourself. You are consciously showing up to your best version.
right. Because you're taking care of yourself first. And that means that you're able to take care of others.
No, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know, a lot of the women that are listening to this podcast, my audience, my clients, the issue that kind of boils down to is that they feel depleted because they are managing careers, they are managing households, they are back to back meetings all day, they have families that they're taking care of. And at the end of the day, they have nothing left to give. And you embody having energy to give others, I think.
It took me a long time to get there, though. It didn't happen overnight. When you don't have time, I always think of this analogy. Think about you're in a work setting and you're so busy, and someone says, we'll just get another resource. And the first thought is, I don't have the time to train that resource to help me. And so you just end up in these scenarios where you're so overwhelmed, but the thought of stopping to give yourself that moment of rest is too overwhelming. And so it's really shifting your values and how you think about rest. Like I said before, you can't pour from an empty cup. We can know that logically, but it is, how do I really get tiny moments back to myself? And then you get those glimmers of, wow, that was great. I feel amazing. So if it's taking 2 minutes to breathe whilst you're preparing dinner before you get in the door, something that's going to switch your from work mode into house mode, you'll feel great afterwards. And you're like, oh, great. Okay, that was only 2 minutes. I can do that. Where else can I find that time? And you start realizing that you've got the time. We all have time in different ways. I always challenge people to look at their screen time stats for Instagram on their phone. And sometimes it's 2 hours. And I go, look, that's 2 hours instead of scrolling that you could have been doing this. All you need is 5 minutes. All you need is 10. Something really small. What I found was that even now running a business is that taking the time to stop and slow down is the superpower, because it gives you more energy later. Instead of it being something that I would look at as a weakness, that I needed a break, that I would need rest, I've had to change my mindset around it. And working with a coach who would say, she's like, how sustainable is this practice? And I said, well, I can do it. I can do this. I don't need to have a break. And she goes, well, if you're working to these hours and you're not taking a break, how long do you think you can do that? And I had to look at her and just say, probably until I burn out. She goes, exactly. I was like, right, okay. So you can operate at full speed, but you get to a point where your body says no. And so continually doing that pendulum swing of work as hard as I can and get to the end of the year and collapse. Now it's, how do I have a sustainable way of doing that? It's right, I will take Sunday off and have a day to myself because I know that I've got a busy week ahead. So how do you have 10 minutes in your week? Maybe it's doing a sheet mask. Maybe it's just breathing. Maybe it's going for a walk without your phone. Maybe it's just sitting in your car. How do I have 10 minutes? Because I know that's going to make me more energized for my kids, for my next meeting, for that next hard thing. And actually valuing that time as an energizer, not as a failure.
I love everything that you're saying. This is something that I teach with the women that I work with. And because we run until we're out of energy, and then we snap, we're irritable, we're angry, we reach for the quick path to relief. When we take 2, 5, 10 minutes away from the computer in the middle of the workday, I don't think that we give enough credit to the impact that that has on our energy. It's so incredibly important. And sure, maybe there's days that it doesn't happen, but if it's happening more than not, that is you taking care of yourself. And I love what you said in the beginning. It took you a long time to get to where you are and build this practice, even though it's something we want to be doing, even though taking a 2 or 5 minute break in the middle of the day is something we want to do and we know it's good for us. Because it's different, it takes a little more effort. It's amazing how we have to kind of force ourselves to do
Yeah.
something.
Well, especially if you're determined or driven, it can seem like it just seems foreign to be doing. So if
Yeah.
you're there going, especially if you've been running on depletion, if you're there working all day, drinking all night, getting up, doing your gym routine in the morning, it's all running on depletion. And so it takes a while to step away and say, I'm going to revitalize myself. I'm going to reinvest in myself. And I still do it. I still sit on my computer and go, I have to schedule my lunch breaks into my calendar and time block. because it's not a punishment anymore. We're not living from that way of thinking of you need to do 8 hours, otherwise you're not successful. It's like, hold on, I'm human. I worked till 11 o'clock last night and I was up again at 6. If I was working for someone else, that would be a lot of overtime. Take the hour break and go do yoga. Don't feel guilty about it. Like shifting your ways of thinking that you are what you eat. Like it's in that mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, and taking care of yourself is going to make you more productive
Yeah.
and more useful to yourself and the people who need you. So, I know that a lot of people, and particularly women listening to this, are feeling like taking care of themselves feels unattainable. And, we've already talked about how they have nothing left to give. So, walk me through what slowing down and reconnecting with yourself looks like in practice. Like the first three things that someone should do. And it might even be a recap of what you've already spoken to, but I love giving my audience an assignment.
I'm a practical girl, so I like tangible tools to give people. I think the first one is very simply just putting your hand on your heart. And
Mhm.
that it's called coherent breathing. So you're actually connecting to your heartbeat. But I find it's a way to tune into what you actually feel like, what you want to do. So if you're in a state of trying sobriety and someone asks you something, and in the first instance, pop your hand on your heart and just see what comes up. Is it a yes? Is it a no?
Yeah, I love that because then it's like, does it feel good? If it's a yes, does it feel good?
Yeah, and it's that physical reminder. I'm all about the physical reminders because we get caught up in our heads. So if once you're in your head, it can be, oh, but I should go because it's so and so's birthday, or I've got to be a good friend, or you get into thinking of things, and that can take you 2 days of thinking. The moment you put your hand on your heart and go, do I want to go to this birthday party? Yes. Okay. And then you make a decision from that moment.
I love that. Slowing down to make decisions, thinking before we just say yes.
And it's all part of that reactivity. So again, breath, finding ways to breathe, and creating space. So the breath could be, all of these could be combined. You could put your hand on your heart, create the space, and have 10 minutes to yourself whilst you breathe. Or you could break them up. You could use the hand on the heart as the reminder when answering questions, the breath before you walk in the door, and the space could be on your commute to work, you're not on your phone, or on your drive, you're not having the radio on. You're just quieting down that noise so that you've got the space to actually feel what's coming up for you. And they're the moments where, oh, shame's popping up, fear's popping up. Oh, I'm being hard on myself. If you're not creating that space, we're not conscious. We're just going through the daily motions. Like I said before, it took me so long to realize how I spoke to myself wasn't great because I had no space to even stop and be aware of it, to take notice.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing is paying attention to yourself. And I don't think we do enough of that.
Well, we're too busy. And I appreciate everyone's busy, and I appreciate the overwhelm and how much running from one thing to the other can create that just on the hamster wheel. And so it's really finding any way that you can slow down. If you are going from your car to work, how do you just take that walk to just slow down so it's not rushing in? How do you give yourself 10 extra minutes in the morning so you're not frantically running out the house? When I was drinking, I would try to sleep in as much as possible because I'd had a big night out. So then my mornings were chaos because I'm doing my makeup in the car, and you're continually just stealing time from other areas.
Yes, and you're getting out of bed at the last possible moment. Like what is the quickest path to shower, brush my teeth and get out the door? That is also not taking care of yourself. Just not even giving yourself the time to fully tend to your hygiene and your hydration and all of the things that you need in the morning to be successful that day. And before we wrap up, what are, or do you have, I'm sure you do, because even though you're so zen and in tune with your needs, you're still a high achieving woman. And I'm wondering if you want to share about any goals that you have or areas of focus for this year.
My focus really is growing good living only in a sustainable way. but also my own self-development. So moving from that surviving into thriving. And that's in my own practice. That's not overworking. That's maintaining that zen, that how I'm showing up for myself, how I'm investing in myself so I can give the best to the business. That's really the focus, is that I've gone from holding space for others and then teaching them meditation and their own rituals, and then adding the business element to that. I'm still practicing the rituals, but I'm doing so much that I've got to be conscious of how much I do take on and where I say yes and where I say no. I thought I had balance because I wasn't drinking, because I was still doing all the wellness activities, I was meditating, but I was still burning out because of stress and worry. And so I just want to make sure that I'm investing in my own self care from a mindset perspective so that I could mentally be stronger for this year and thrive.
Oh, I love that because ambition, I think, drives worry. And when we worry, like, what does success look like? And always like raising the bar on ourselves, that a lot of that, at least in my experience, that's where a lot of my worry comes from.
We're our worst enemy. And that's that negative self-talk from, running. It creeps in other facets. It's a great driver and it gets you to where you need to be. But I'm trying to shift out of the stress and the worry and the pressure as the driver. And how do I come from a more embodied place, a more positive place of, it's okay to take a break. You will get there. You're doing amazing, sweetie. How do I shift these things that I've used in the past that I used to get to where I need to be, but in a more positive way. And that is rest. That is space. That is not being hard on myself and creating pressure, knowing that you are capable and building that self-trust. It's the learnings from the sobriety journey and the self-compassion, but in a business and mindset place.
Yes, it carries in, it's our life's work, I always say. It really is. Once you find that you've done this well within your business, you're going to find another area where you're like, "Oh, wait, this is applicable here as well."
They're all transferable skills across, and that's where I think the multifaceted part kicks in, is that meditation, sobriety, wellness, self-care, skincare, rituals, all of that is, it can seem like there's six different subjects that I love to talk about, but it's all the same undertones of how you set yourself up for success.
I'm so glad that you said that. It's exactly true. And it's what, in the moment, early sobriety, or, leaning into being sober curious, or really working hard to get to that last drink. We don't quite see it that way yet, but
No, it takes a while to get that hindsight. And I just think of it as with any growth. Sobriety is a big challenge. It's not something easy to do. And so once you do that, you understand the learning curve. You go into things that, I'm not going to be great at this to start with. This is going to be uncomfortable, but I will get through that growth period and I will learn from it. And you just teach yourself that the trip, this is going to be uncomfortable. I'm not going to like it at the start, but I'm going to have done it and know that I can do it again. And you just continually building that muscle of being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
that's one of my other favorite sayings.
Really?
When I was in, like, I don't know, maybe my early 30s, I had a manager. I had recently gotten a promotion, and he said, "Lindsay, I need you to get comfortable being uncomfortable." And it stuck with me. Like, I remind myself of it all the time. And
Well, because it continually pops up. We get uncomfortable. But I was under the impression that once I did the sobriety journey, everything would be smooth sailing, because if I could get through my career and live this fulfilling life whilst drinking, and I took that element out, God, how life would be so easy.
yeah.
And when it wasn't, because you're more conscious of everything and you've got the space to get through the brain fog, I was like, wow, okay. Now what? I still have uncomfortable moments. How am I going to get through this? And you will
Yeah.
always have those uncomfortable moments. but knowing that you can get through them is the learning of it all.
It's so true. It's so good. I don't think we can top that. So we will wrap up. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy to have met you now virtually, but also through social media, that it has brought us together. And so if anyone's listening and you want to learn more about Jess and the rituals that she teaches and practices, you can find her at Jess Jackson _glow. We'll link it in the show notes. It is so fun to follow your journey, and I'm so glad that we got to chat today.
Thank you for having me. I love what you do, so I can't wait to chat more.
Thank you for listening to the Feel Good Alcohol Free podcast. If this episode landed for you, it would mean a lot if you left a review or take a quick screenshot of it and share it on social media. That's how this show reaches more women who are ready to stop living in the drinking loop and start leading themselves with confidence again. I'm on a mission to change the way high-achieving women think about alcohol, because you don't need more willpower or more rules around your drinking. You need real support, real tools, and the truth about what's actually possible for you. So keep showing up for yourself, keep telling the truth about what you want. And remember, the life you want isn't found in a glass or a bottle of wine. It's built in the decisions that you can stand behind, the ones that you feel really good about. My DMs are always open, and I can't wait to get to know you better. I will see you next week in the next episode.